host, Lloyd Shoemaker, with Coach Grasso.
This is the Coach's Show. It's February 12th on Wednesday, and I'm sitting here with Coach Grasso, the head boys basketball coach for Piqua High School. I'm Lloyd Shoemaker, your host. Coach, first of all, congratulations on a nice win last night over Fairborn.
Thank you.
Played you tough. You had them pretty much 10, 11 points, 9 points, 11 points back and forth sometime after the first part of the second quarter. I think it came out in the second quarter, and I think that's when you took the lead the first time.
Yep.
Kept it up that way. Got down into the fourth quarter. You watch this team, and you keep waiting for that flush where it just all goes away from them for a while, and we don't score any points. And then last night, you got down to 54-50. And I can't remember the time, but it had to be someplace between a minute and 2 minutes, something like that. And you called timeout. Good call. What did you do to fix it? Because they came back out and got right back where they were before they went into that flush.
Well, I think we just, at that point, understanding the time and score is something that's really important. And we said, regardless of what's happened in the last couple possessions here, we have the lead, so we need to really make sure that we're getting good shots. We called a play to get Garrett the ball, who had been our hot scorer, and I believe at that point specifically, we got him down to the rim and he got fouled and made some free throws, so that was nice.
Yeah, Garrett last night, 24 points, 10 out of 15 from the free throw line, 7 out of 16 from the field, and you only had one three-pointer made last night.
This was our lowest overall three-point outcome of the game or of the season. So it was nice to be able to do it. We made up for it with some free throws, like we said. I mean, we made 20 last night, so that's probably as many as we've made all year. Shooting-wise,
40% from the field, one of 10 from three-point area, and 69% from the free throw line. For those of you who didn't hear the score or see it in the paper this morning, it was 61-55. Indians over Fairborn, and Fairborn's their record does not reflect their talent. Do you think so?
I would say you're correct about that, and that's just that's what our league is. I mean, there's no bad teams per se. The records, they are what they are, but every team has some talent. Every team has some athleticism, and every team on any given night, if you don't bring your very best game, then they can beat you. So.
Yeah, you're right about that. The being able to pull it together. When you bring them over during a timeout, there were a few times last night you called a quick timeout and did something. Are you trying to calm them down, fire them up, just explain something a little bit better? What's your?
Sure, it depends on the situation. I mean, sometimes it is trying to get the energy to the proper level to where it needs to be. In that case, you might see my head turning a little red from time to time. Other times it may be some tactical information, something needs to change, or to specifically call a play. So really it just depends on the situation. But each time last night when we used our timeouts, the boys responded. So
is it something you see, or is it just a gut feeling that you need to get them on the bench?
Could be, probably a little bit of both. There's some times where if the proper energy's not there on the court, we're not going to be the highest scoring team or the most athletic team on the court. In most situations, or the tallest team. But what we have to be is we have to be the team that plays the hardest. And if we're not, it doesn't take a whole lot of basketball knowledge to see that. You can walk in the gym and say, oh, that team tries very hard. They're hustling, they're sweating. And when we're not doing that, it can be pretty ugly. So when I look out there and I don't see those things happening, that's when I'll generally use them to get the energy going.
We get a lot of Twitter communications, a lot of emails, a lot of phone calls, and I'm kidding about that, of course. But what's your philosophy on substituting? First of all, I could never understand, of course I've never been a head coach, but I can never understand why a kid appears to make one mistake on the floor and he gets subbed for immediately. It looks like sometimes when you've had a guy out there, been on the floor for a while, he just shot a couple of free throws, you sub for him. Is that an offense-defense thing? What's your philosophy on the subject?
The second question first, it's anytime we have an opportunity to shoot free throws and stop the game to let us set the defense, and we can take control of the flow of the game. So when we make our second free throw, I will almost always send a player to the scorer's table to sub in. That way we can set our defense, as opposed to them taking the ball out of the net and throwing it down the hoop while we're still gallivanting back and we've scored. So that almost, I would say, 80 to 90% of the time you're going to see that happen.
So it's a defensive move.
Yes, correct. It's a defensive move. As far as the one, I think you worded it as one mistake and out. I don't think I'm generally that type of coach. You may see it at different levels or different places.
I do see it at a lot of places. I see
So,
girls' ball.
and I think here's the thing that might happen is that what people don't see that when they aren't at practice every day is you might see the same things happen at practice, and the reason why the kid doesn't get inserted as much as their parents might like, or as much as they might like, or their friends, is because they're consistently showing in practice they're not quite at the level of the other guys, or they have a tendency to turn it over too much or get beat on defense or whatever the case might be. So then, and again, this is not any one person, this is just something I'm thinking of the way that it turns out. Let's say somebody goes in a game or in practice and gives up 2 layups, and then they go in the game and they get an opportunity to show that they've improved, and they give up a layup immediately. Then the coach is going to say,
"What'd you learn?
What did we learn? Was there any?" So that, in that case, they may, pull them back out again, I guess.
Yeah, it's not just you. I've seen it with a lot of coaches to do that, and I've seen it for years in coaching, and especially in high school ball. And now I'm starting to see it in the pro football, for crying out loud. There were a couple situations, I think it was in the Super Bowl, where a defensive lineman or something jumped off sides or whatever, and don't you know they ended up substituting for him right away. I mean, it's embarrassing enough that they just replayed it 4 times for the entire nation, but now the coach is pulling him off the field, and I'm trying to think, what's the philosophy behind it? What's the motivation about that?
Right. So that's just maybe, the bench might be the alternate motivator there. I don't know.
Okay. Let's talk about some of the guys last night. We kind of mentioned some of the names when we first sat down here. Mr. Darner. I was watching, there were some kids on the floor after the game, had little rubber balls. I actually saw him jump and dunk one.
Yeah.
He has got springs.
Yeah, he's worked very hard on his physique this past off season and throughout the year. He's been in the weight training program, and for a 5'8", 5'9" guy to be able to jump up there and get to the rim, and he's got some athleticism and strength in a small body. We were talking before. He had a really excellent effort play where they were. We went into one of our lulls where we couldn't score, and they threw the ball back over half court. And in most cases, if it goes out of bounds or if that player from their team goes and touches it, then it's a dead ball.
Right.
But he out-sprinted the other guy and took the ball to the hoop, and I think we may have been up 10 or 11, and we missed 4 or 5 layups. We could have made it 20, and they were cutting in now back to 7 or 6, and then he makes that play, and it goes back to 8 again.
It was just amazing.
A great energy play.
The player for Fairborn was just kind of going after the ball, figuring nobody else was coming, and all of a sudden, here come Darner up the far side between him and the out of bounds, and just scooped that thing up and took it in for a layup. I'm sitting there and went, wow, that's a play. That's quite a play. It also shows, I think it's a teaching play too, not for him and the kids on his team, but any of the young people that were there watching, and there were a bunch of them there last night. There's an example of what hustle will do for you. And you get a chance to get talked about on the coaches show.
Exactly. We had our middle school teams in last night and were recognized, and so that's those types of plays are the things that are would really go a long way.
Well, as I said, I watched him dunk one of those little rubber balls last night, and I'm glad that Garrett wasn't out there to see that. He has been trying to dunk one all year long.
He has,
I haven't seen him do
yeah.
it yet. Also, I thought Jarrell Lewis last night did a really good job. Got 7 points for you off the bench. Made some free throws last night, and also scored off the floor. He just tickles me to death out there. He has so much fun playing that game.
Yeah.
They're trying to run over him.
Yep.
But he and that number 33 on the other team, Gerald was guarding him, and he didn't have his arms out. He just using his chest.
Yep.
And he would not let that guy get down into the key. I
Yep.
think they finally called a foul on him for pushing him around like that. But that other kid had to be frustrated like that.
Yeah, definitely. Jerry's a hustler and a physical presence for us, and a vocal leader as well. And when he brings the positive part of it, it's really a great energy for our team. So.
Yeah, and Riley Hill, he was doing a similar type of job on defense, excuse me, last night. And he surprised, I think, some of those guards breaking, trying to get a fast break going last night, how quick he was able to get back on defense. And when you talk about plugging up a lane, he plugs up the lane.
That's for sure. Yeah, he's a great guy to have around, and he can give you a good hard 2 or 3 minutes out there and give you everything he's got. And we're definitely a good night for him last night. So.
Only scored 4 points for us last night, but just did a good job of getting in there on the rebounds and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Drayshawn had 10 points last night. Garrett had 24, 7 for Mr. Seaver, and Iverson had 2, and Garner had 5. You got your last game of the season coming up against Troy.
Yep.
Troy's sitting there in second place in our league right now in our division. They kind of put it to us the first time.
Yeah, I think we ended up, the final score was, I think it was 60-47. So the big thing that we had there at the beginning of that game is our offensive lull came at the beginning. So we were in a hole to start, and we dug out. I think we were down as many as 20 at one point, but it started off with 12-0, and it wasn't one of those where they rain 2 threes and get 2 layups, and it was one where it was like they scored, we missed, they missed a couple, we missed more, and then suddenly, slowly we're down 12, 14 points, and then we have to dig out of it. So, we're looking forward to an opportunity to get a fresh start against our rival on Friday. So,
well, you kind of started out like that last night. They got it up about 6 or 7 to zip, I think it was, before we were able to get some points, and then we just kept creeping back into the game point-wise until we were able to take the lead, and then they start chasing us the rest of the night, which is what you really want to have happen.
Exactly.
And you're right. We've had, it seems like almost every game there's been one of those quarters where we just, we can't drop the ball and hit the floor with it. It just will not go through the hole.
Yep, and we'll just continue as we head towards the off season here. Those are things that we continue to learn. Just going in the gym and shooting or working on finishing is not enough. It has to be at the same speed that you would do it in a game, and then it really counts and it's valuable. So good lessons to learn moving forward, as most of our team will be back again.
Yeah, you're only losing 4 seniors.
Correct.
And who they are, want to name those sorts?
Yeah, Owen Curtis and Cameron Foster and Riley Hill and Iverson Ventura are the 4. So
you're going to have Darner back.
Yep.
You're going to have Seaver back.
Yep.
You're going to have, of course, Drayshawn's back. So there's 3 guards again that you've got. And then
Garrett
Shrub's back.
Keegan Patton.
Dylan
Cheney. Tanner Kemp comes up from the JV. Lane Banning. We got a nice core of people returning.
What about the big guy on the JV team?
Yep, Austin Burns.
Yeah, Austin Burns.
And I think in the summer here, Bryson Roberts as a freshman has a chance to really continue to improve. So the future's bright for us for sure.
Have you seen any of the 5th and 6th grade or the 6th and 7th grades play?
Yes.
You've got a kid coming up in that 7th grade team or 8th grade team. What is he, about 6'4" already?
Yeah, he's got some pretty good size. So yeah, it'll be one of those again where in the summer you'll get into our camps and work out and work on the skills.
Yeah. Let's this Friday night. Like I said, this is the 12th of February, Wednesday. This Friday night, we journey down to Troy for that battle of Miami County.
Yep.
Playing on their floor, the last regular season game before a tournament, which we'll talk about in a minute. What do you think? What do you think you're going to see different from Troy, if anything, and what are you going to do different?
Well, it'll be, it's always a high energy and emotional game, even more so because it's their senior night. So, that they're going to be, they'll put their best foot forward, absolutely, and we will prepare like crazy over the next 2 days and be ready to give them a good battle on Friday night.
You took your senior night against Greenville instead of last night. I wasn't here. I was out of town, but I found it out when I got back that was your senior, because I expected to see that last night. So what was your thinking there?
I actually originally, or as administratively, it was chosen as usually the last game of the year, but the senior parents preferred to have it on a Friday night, so they asked if we could do it on the Greenville night.
Okay.
So.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Greenville gave you a battle and ended up beating you.
Yeah, that's as mentioned. That's the type of the type of thing that we mentioned before. The records are you can throw those out the window when the teams in our league play, because if you don't come with your very best, the other team very well might. And if you look at Greenville's stats, they had their best shooting night of the year.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And
over 50%, wasn't it?
Yeah, they made 2 different times of 3 consecutive threes to kind of spread the lead out. And we'll give our kids credit. Even though we were down in a hole, we battled back and we had it at 3 points and had a steal. And unfortunately, we turned it back over to them late in the game, and that was kind of the end of it. But like we said, it's the records. You can throw them out the window in our league, because every night is going to be a battle.
Yeah, there's a team that for a long time looked like they was having a hard time getting on the bus, and then all of a sudden now they've got 5 wins.
Yeah, exactly, and they have pretty big and physical team, and like we said, if we went in a little bit of a scoring drought and they made a couple shots and you tip your cap, they hustled us and they got a win. So.
All right, you had your tournament draw last. Oh, by the way, what I'm thinking about, are there any other tournaments? Are there freshman tournaments or JV tournaments in the Miami Valley League?
There are not.
Now, you had that in GWalk, didn't you?
Well, many years ago there was a freshman one.
Okay.
But I'm not sure exactly when it went away.
Okay.
There are tournaments for the league in 7th and 8th grade, but they did away with the 9th grade one, and that's just kind of.
So the freshmen and the JV players, except the ones that go up to the varsity for the tournament game, are pretty much done.
Season ends, yep. Last game.
Will they continue to practice as long as the season's?
So the players who will be on the travel roster for the tournament will be in practice, and then everybody else is released for the season, and we'll have our postseason meetings with them, and they'll move on to their spring sports or whatever they might do.
Let's go back to West Carrollton at Butler, and that's Saturday. Is that Saturday?
Saturday the 22nd, 6:30 at Vandalia. Yep.
And that's not the first game, I presume.
No, there's another game before. I think actually they swapped. I think Centerville plays Tecumseh before us.
Okay.
And because Centerville hosts the draw and Butler hosts the draw, and Butler drew into their sectional, and you can't play at your home court. And Centerville drew into theirs, so they flip-flopped.
Okay.
So
the second game Saturday night starting around 6:30.
Yes, correct.
Okay, and that's against West Carrollton.
Yep.
Back in December 17th, we played West Carrollton down there and lost that one 86-61. Actually, in that ball game, we scored in double figures in every quarter.
Yeah,
unfortunately, so did they.
That score was not really indicative of the game. I think they got away from us a little bit in the fourth quarter. After it was out of reach maybe to 12 to 15 points, and I think they finished the game on like an 8-0 run or something.
Yeah, we were down 12 at halftime.
So in the middle of the third quarter, I think we got it down as many as 4 or 5. So,
Yeah.
and the same thing, and the last time we played them, which was just a couple weeks ago, 3-point game at half, and it was right around there in the midway through the third quarter. A very athletic team, and have a big guy in the middle that can really affect shots if you go in there and try to challenge him weekly. A leading scorer in the league. A few other guys that can both get 12 to 15 points a night. So it's a challenge for us. But I think these two games lining up are interesting because both teams pose similar problems. So we'll be getting prepared for Troy, and at the same time, with that game, we'll be getting prepared for West Carrollton. So.
Well, you're going to have a week in between, which is going to help you.
Yep.
You finished last year 7-16. You're currently 8-13. Is that correct?
Yes.
Be nice to get at least 2 more wins under our belt.
Yep.
Before the season ends up here. So, how do you feel about? Are you disappointed in what happened to you record-wise this year? I know early when you were back getting started, we kind of talked about the fact that you had some basketball players who were athletes instead of the athletes who were basketball players. Did it turn out like you thought it was going to turn out?
Yeah, that's every year. My goal for the program is to get us up into the double-digit win range. As the games play throughout the course of the season with high school kids, with college kids, you're going to see there's going to be some ups and there's going to be some downs. This team was the first team in many, many years to go to Vandalia Butler and win. Conversely, it's the first time since I've been the head coach that we lost to Greenville in a game. Yeah. So on your best night, the very good things can happen on your worst night. The reality is somewhere in between there, and so our record is indicative of that, I think. And you could take a win or a loss here or there. We'd like to be. If you think of 1 or 2 wins here or there, it could get us to that double digits, and we still have an opportunity here with a couple games left. So. Well,
and you take a look at the way the league is set up now. All the teams are pretty much equal, I think, as far as enrollment and stuff like that, aren't they?
For the most part, yeah. Tip City actually and Greenville fall into D2.
Yeah.
The rest of them, I think Troy is probably the biggest, and Sydney. West Carrollton was Division II, and they bumped into D1. We are and Butler, I believe, are the 2 smallest D1s, and the other ones are the smaller. And part of the split between the GWalk and Miami Valley League is you're talking about Centerville and Huber Heights and Kettering that have 4 times the amount of boys that we have. So Division I is such a huge disparity. And it's probably even, when I say 4 times, it's probably even more than that. But so for the most part, the teams are, as far as the amount of kids, the pool is pretty similar.
Now it's just up to coaches like you and Knees and the baseball coaches and softball coaches to bring the talent out of what we've got to work with.
That's right.
Well, listen, again, congratulations on your win last night. It was fun to sit there and watch it and hold my breath for the last 2 minutes. But you got the kids settled down and they did the right things. I thought maybe, one last thought, when it seemed like you pulled the ball out with 3.5 minutes to go, were you trying to slow it down at that point, or were you just trying to set something up?
Well, when we have the lead in the ball, we're going to want to value that. So the time almost becomes more important than us scoring. If we can possess the ball with the lead, that's a good situation. So we'll try to run it down and then get a shot that we really want, as opposed to, hey, let's swing around the perimeter a few times and try to score. So I think that's where we were at that point.
Yeah, I saw the JV game last night, and it appeared as though it became more like an NBA game, one-on-one, trying to drive the basket. Instead of setting up a play and getting an easy shot, they kept trying to drive the basket, and they just weren't succeeding. The defense was stopping them all the time. So.
Right.
But anyway, again, congratulations on last night. We'll be down at Troy, of course, to watch that ball game. All 3 of them down there. Freshmen start at 4:30. JV follows that around 6 or so, and then you guys are scheduled to tip off at 7:30 down at Troy. Get that win and then get yourself prepared for West Carrollton down at Butler a week from this Saturday night. So, Coach, again, thank you very much for taking your time this year with the Coaches Show. I know this is your free period and you need to get out of here. So we want to thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.